Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Komal Saxena from the Chemistry Department of Delhi Public School, Bhilai. And today we are going to have a discussion on polyhalogen compounds, which is a part of the chapter haloalkanes and haloarenes. Polyhalogen compounds, as the name itself is suggesting, these are carbon-containing compounds which have more than one halogen atom. And most of them have wide use in industry as well as in agriculture. And the ones which are in our syllabus are, most of them are derivatives of methane, and they are as follows. We have in our syllabus dichloromethane, also known as methylene chloride. And then we have in our syllabus trichloromethane, also very popularly known as chloroform. Another one in the list is triiodomethane, called as iodoform. It's a yellow colored powder. We'll be discussing about it. And then of course we have a tetrachloroderivative of methane carbon tetrachloride. Then we'll be also discussing some compounds which are collectively called as freons. Freons are chlorofluoro derivatives of ethane and methane, and we all have heard about these compounds because of their adverse effect on ozone layer. They cause ozone depletion. And then in the end, we'll have a discussion on DDT, which is a very powerful insecticide, that is para-para-dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane. Now I have a very interactive video with me, and that has been provided by the Smart Class of Delhi Public School, Bhilai. And I would like to share this with you because if you all look into this video and pay attention to the points which they have mentioned, this will be highly beneficial for you. So let's have a look at the discussion in the form of video which has been provided by the Smart Class of Delhi Public School, Bhilai. I suggest all of you should please take note of the bullet points which they give at the end of the discussion. So let's have a look at this video.
Polyhalogen compounds. In this module, you will learn about the uses and harmful effects of some polyhalogen compounds. Carbon compounds containing more than one halogen atom are called polyhalogen compounds. Many polyhalogen compounds are quite useful to us. However, most of these useful compounds also have certain harmful effects. Here we will discuss some polyhalogen compounds that are halogenated derivatives of methane. The first compound in the list is dichloromethane or methylene chloride. This compound has two of the hydrogen atoms of methane replaced by chlorine atoms. It is widely used as a paint remover, a propellant in aerosols, a process solvent in the manufacture of drugs, and as a metal cleaning and finishing solvent. There is also a long list of its harmful effects on human beings. It harms the central nervous system. Even when found at low levels in air, it can lead to slightly impaired hearing and vision. Its higher levels in air cause dizziness, nausea, tingling and numbness in the fingers and toes. Its direct contact with skin causes intense burning and mild redness of the skin, and its direct contact with the eyes can burn the cornea. The next polyhalogen compound is trichloromethane or chloroform, that has three of the halogen atoms of methane replaced by chlorine. Chloroform is used as a solvent for fats, alkaloids, iodine and other substances. It is also used in the production of the Freon refrigerant R22. It was once used as a general anesthetic in surgery, but it has now been replaced by less toxic and safer anesthetics. Let's now look at its harmful effects. As expected from its use as an anesthetic, inhaling chloroform vapor depresses the central nervous system. Breathing about 900 parts of chloroform per million parts of air for a short time can cause dizziness, fatigue and headache. However, chronic chloroform exposure may cause liver and kidney damage. Some people develop sores when their skin comes in contact with chloroform. Chloroform also undergoes an oxidation reaction which is very dangerous. In the presence of light, it is slowly oxidized by air to an extremely poisonous gas . Carbonyl chloride, which is also known as phosgene. That is why chloroform is stored in closed, dark-colored bottles and that too completely filled, so as to prevent its contact with air. Tetrachloromethane or carbon tetrachloride is another important polyhalogen compound. In this compound, all 4 hydrogen atoms are replaced by chlorine atoms. It is used in large quantities for the manufacture of refrigerants and propellants for aerosol cans. It is used in the synthesis of chlorofluorocarbons, pharmaceuticals and other chemicals. It is also used as a general solvent. Carbon tetrachloride also had certain uses in the past which were discontinued later. For example, until the mid-1960s, it was widely used as a cleaning fluid, in industry to remove grease and in homes to remove spots. It was also used earlier as a fire extinguisher. This compound has many harmful effects on human beings. Its exposure causes dizziness, lightheadedness, nausea and vomiting, which can cause permanent damage to nerve cells. In severe cases, these effects can lead to coma, unconsciousness or death. Its exposure can also cause irregular heartbeat and can even stop it. This compound may irritate the eyes on contact. There is also some evidence linking its exposure to liver cancer. Carbon tetrachloride adversely affects the environment too. When released in the air, it rises in the atmosphere and depletes the ozone layer. Depletion of the ozone layer increases human exposure to ultraviolet rays that may cause skin cancer, eye diseases and possible disruption of the immune system. The last polyhalogen compound in the list is triiodomethane or iodoform. It has 3 of the hydrogen atoms of methane replaced by iodine atoms. It once was an extensively used antiseptic. However, its antiseptic properties are due to release of free iodine that has an objectionable smell. Thus, it was replaced by other compounds containing iodine. In this module, you have learnt carbon compounds containing more than 1 halogen atom are called polyhalogen compounds. Some polyhalogen compounds that are halogenated derivatives of methane have many uses as well as harmful effects on human beings. These compounds include dichloromethane, trichloromethane, tetrachloromethane and triiodomethane.
Okay, children, so we had a look at this. Now, I'll be shifting to our NCERT textbook, where we will have a discussion on these compounds again. And I suggest that you please do mark the important points. The reason being that we all know that question paper of CBSE board is put from NCERT textbook, and while revising, we should be knowing what information has been given in our text, and we definitely must note down also. So let's start. Polyhalogen compounds, already had a discussion. What is the meaning of these polyhalogen compounds? So you need to just mark carbon compounds containing more than one halogen atom. Next, starting with the first one, that is dichloromethane, methylene chloride. I'll just suggest that we mark the very important points so that when we have a look at our book, we know what are the important points to be revised. It's used as a solvent, then it harms the human central nervous system. Exposure to lower levels can lead to slightly impaired hearing and vision. So lower levels we have marked. Then in case a human being is exposed to higher levels, it can cause dizziness, nausea, etc. So we have already marked it is being used as a solvent. One more thing, let's mark. It is also being used as a propellant in aerosol. Next, now we come to the next one, and that is trichloromethane, also called as chloroform. Chloroform was earlier used as an anesthetic in surgery. Now its use has been stopped. Nowadays we are using a mixture of ethers. So let's mark what is important here. It is employed as a solvent for fats. So let's mark the word solvent there. And the major use of chloroform nowadays is for the production of Freon refrigerant R22. Very important to be noted down. So this point I have marked. I hope you're also marking in your textbook. And ether nowadays being used as an anesthetic, I've already discussed, you've marked it. This is something important. It was highlighted in the video also, that breathing about 900 parts of chloroform per million parts of air for a very short time also can cause dizziness, fatigue, and headache. So that is an important thing to be noted down. I'll repeat again, Freon refrigerant R22, and then this 900 parts. That point is important. And then the most important point to be noted down about chloroform is given here. That is, on exposure to air and light, chloroform is slowly oxidized to form a very poisonous gas, phosgene, also known as carbonyl chloride. And although the information is not mentioned here, but we can all remember that at times in the chloroform bottle, a little amount of ethanol is added to convert the formed phosgene into diethyl carbonate, which is not as harmful, rather it is harmless. So the information given to be noted down that in order to prevent or to slow down the formation of phosgene, normally chloroform is stored in dark bottles and it is completely filled up till the brim. So that was about chloroform. Now the next compound in the list is triiodomethane, also called as iodoform. It's a yellow colored powder and was used earlier as an antiseptic, and the antiseptic property is due to the liberation of free iodine. And nowadays its use has been discouraged. Rather, we have other formulations which contain iodine. The reason mainly given in our text is because of its objectionable smell which it had. The next compound in our syllabus is tetrachloromethane, that is also called as carbon tetrachloride, CCl4. And CCl4 was earlier used as a fire extinguisher, also under the commercial name pyrene. Nowadays, we are not using it as a fire extinguisher. So it is produced in large quantities for use in manufacture of refrigerant. So the key word again becomes refrigerant and propellant, which we need to remember. Then it was widely used, it says, as a cleaning fluid, both in industry, as a degreasing agent, even at our homes, as a spot remover, and as a fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher, the commercial name was pyrene. Nowadays, we are not using it as pyrene or as a fire extinguisher. Now, the evidence is that exposure to CCl4 causes liver cancer. Hence, its use in homes especially has been discouraged. And it causes a permanent damage to nerve cells. In severe cases, the effect can rapidly lead to coma, unconsciousness, or death also. And it can even make the heartbeat irregular, or it may even stop the heartbeat. This chemical may also irritate eyes on contact. So that was the information which we need to remember about carbon tetrachloride, which has been given to us. And another effect which it has on the environment is that it can deplete the ozone layer. So that also needs to be marked, that it depletes the ozone layer. So next in the list is freon. So we'll have a discussion on freons. And again, I would like you all to have a look at another small video on freons, which has been provided by the Smart Class of Delhi Public School, Bhilai. It's a very short video, but a very interactive video on freons.
Freons and DDT. In this module, you will learn about freons and DDT. Freons and DDT are two polyhalogen compounds which were once widely used, but later their use had to be minimized due to their harmful effects on the environment. Let's discuss the uses and harmful effects of these two compounds. Let's first look at freons. Freons are chlorofluorocarbon compounds. These are derivatives of methane and ethane that are made of only carbon, chlorine, and fluorine. The most important members of the group are dichlorofluoromethane, Freon 12, trichlorofluoromethane, Freon 11, chloro-difluoromethane, Freon 22, dichlorotetrafluoroethane, Freon 114, and trichloro-trifluoroethane, Freon 113. These compounds are extremely stable, non-reactive, non-toxic, non-corrosive, and easily liquefiable gases. These are chiefly used as aerosol, propellants, and refrigerants. One freon, Freon 12, is also used for industrial purposes. Most freons, even those used in refrigeration, eventually make their way into the atmosphere and diffuse unchanged into the stratosphere. In the stratosphere, a freon undergoes a photo-induced cleavage reaction, generating a chlorine-free radical. This chlorine-free radical then initiates chain reactions that transform natural ozone into oxygen. This way, freons can upset the natural ozone balance. Because of the serious impact of freons on the environment, most of these compounds are replaced by other chemicals. Let's now look at DDT. DDT, that is PP- Dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane was originally prepared in 1873 but was not used until Paul Muller discovered its effectiveness as an insecticide in 1939. This discovery led to the use of DDT as a potential insecticide. DDT is highly effective against mosquitoes that spread malaria and lice that carry typhus. However, the extensive use of DDT led to many environmental issues. Many species of insects developed resistance to DDT. It was also discovered to be highly toxic to fishes. In addition, DDT is chemically highly stable and highly soluble in fat. As a result, it cannot be metabolized rapidly by animals. Instead, it is deposited and stored in their fatty tissues. And if an animal continues to ingest DDT, then it accumulates in the body of the animal over time. Because of these reasons, the use of DDT is banned in many countries. In this module, you have learnt about freons and DDT with respect to their uses and harmful effects on the environment.
Okay, so now let's move on to our NCERT text and mark the important points which we just saw in the video. So now coming back to our NCERT, freons, chlorofluorocarbon compounds of methane and ethane. This is their definition. And so definition can be marked. So this sentence can be marked till here. And definitely you need to remember it also. And then the most important point there, that they are extremely stable, unreactive, non-toxic, and they are non-corrosive as well, and easily liquefiable gases. This was there in the video also, but because now we are marking and remembering the important points, so this is important. And here just to point out, because they are extremely stable, so they move as such to the stratosphere without any change, and hence are able to initiate that free radical mechanism which depletes the ozone layer. The most important one which they have mentioned is freon 12. This is one of the most common freons in industrial use. And another important point in our NCERT which needs to be revised and remembered by all, that is, they are being prepared by Schwartz reaction. I hope you do remember what is Schwartz reaction. Schwartz reaction we have already discussed before. That's a halogen exchange, rather a halide exchange reaction, in which already present bromo or a chloro group is substituted by a fluoro by using some metal fluoride like silver fluoride, etc. So that was Schwartz reaction. And then they are used, these freons are normally prepared or produced for aerosol propellant or for refrigeration and for air conditioning purposes. Now, eventually these, as I've already told, they make way into the atmosphere where diffuse unchanged because they are very stable into the stratosphere, and they are able to initiate a free radical chain reaction, and that depletes the ozone layer. Now coming to the last polyhalogen compound, that is DDT. And DDT is para-para-dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane. And they've drawn a beautiful structure of DDT. Do practice this structure, everyone. That is para-para-dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane. You can easily see it's an ethane molecule where all the three hydrogens of one of the carbons have been substituted by chloro group, and in the other carbon, this carbon, you can see two hydrogens have been substituted by a para-chlorophenyl or a 4-chlorophenyl group. Now let's see about DDT, what all information has been given in our textbook. So let's see what does it say. It says that the use of DDT increased enormously on a worldwide basis after World War II because of its effectiveness against the mosquito which spreads malaria and lice that carry typhus. So its use became very popular because of these two reasons. And then later on in late 1940s, it was found that many species of insects, they developed resistance to DDT. So we should know that this information about why its use was discouraged later on. And then it also was found to have high toxicity towards fish, and then chemical stability of DDT and its fat solubility. These are the two important things which we need to note down. This is chemically very stable. As it goes in our body, it remains stable, doesn't decompose or metabolize, and it is having a lot of affinity towards fat. It's soluble in fat. So what happens is that as it goes into our body, it is not metabolized very rapidly. Instead, it gets deposited and stored in the fatty tissues. So, and if ingestion continues as our book says, then it builds up within the animal body, and it is a carcinogenic chemical, and it was banned in United States in 1973, and in many countries it has been banned, although it does say that some parts of the world are still using DDT. So its use definitely should be banned because of its adverse effects. So that was all about the polyhalogen compounds which are in our syllabus. I think that was the last polyhalogen compound given in our textbook. So do revise. Just one more thing I would like to point out, that in our exercise there's a question given on polyhalogen compounds. Only one question has been given, and that is question number 13. So let's see, question number 13, what does it say? It says, give the uses of Freon 12. Just now we discussed, it's a refrigerant. DDT, you already know, it's a very powerful insecticide, especially for the mosquito, which causes malaria and lice that carry typhus. Carbon tetrachloride, it's an excellent solvent and is also used as a refrigerant and in air conditioning also. And iodoform, they have asked. So iodoform is a very good, we can say, an antiseptic, and it has antiseptic properties because it releases iodine on the skin. Although nowadays other formulations which contain iodine are being used. So that takes care of question number 13, and do prepare well. Take care of yourself. Thank you.